Facebook can be forced to delete content worldwide, according to the EU. So you may be wondering, like, how the fuck can the EU tell Facebook to delete something outside of the EU, and Facebook is just going to do it? Well, easy. They use the typical mafia tactics. If you don't do what we say, we're going to punish you if you want to keep doing business with us. And the EU is a pretty fucking huge market. So no company, none of these giant global corporations wants to leave the EU, but honestly, that's what it's going to take to make them cut it out with this bullshit. This is what I said about Articles 13 and 11 as well. Imagine what would happen if Big Tech's response to Articles 13 and 11 was to just completely stop serving Europe entirely. So no more Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon. All of them just go dark in Europe. There will probably be a fucking revolution the next day. So if all these big tech companies actually did that, if they found where they kept their balls and they put them to use, the Articles 11 and 13 never would have fucking happened. Because after 1 or 2 days of being completely blacked out on the internet, all these politicians would suddenly be like, wait, we weren't serious. It's just a prank, bro. Come back. Don't cut us off. Yeah, so the decision that individual countries can order Facebook to take down posts globally sets a benchmark for the reach of European laws governing the internet. It all depends on how Facebook responds, honestly, but we know they're going to bend over. That's all they do. Europe's top court said on Thursday that individual countries can order Facebook to take down posts, photographs, and videos not only in their own countries but elsewhere, in a ruling that extends the reach of the region's internet-related laws beyond its own borders. The European Court of Justice... please don't use the word justice in the legal system. It should be the European Court of Law. Law and justice are not the same thing, so don't fall for that. It said Facebook could be forced to remove a post globally by a national court in the European Union's 28-member bloc if the content was determined to be defamatory or otherwise illegal. So this is the same shit like what they have here in the U.S., funny enough. Except when the U.S. does it, they punish just other U.S. citizens. Because say, if I go to Amsterdam and do all sorts of drugs that are legal there, but aren't illegal in the U.S., I'm not breaking any laws, right? I did the illegal activity, the activity that was illegal in the U.S., I did in a place where it was legal, so no problem, right? You think that's the end of that. But then if I come back to the U.S. and they do a drug test and they find those drugs in my system, I'm going to jail for life. What kind of fucking bullshit is that? But yeah, this is even worse. Like they're saying, we determined what you did was illegal in my country, so no other country gets to do it, basically. Now this is some fucking 1984 level bullshit that needs to be stamped out. If the big tech companies refuse to black out the EU over this shit, then they are complicit in selling us out to the NWO at this point. Yeah, the ruling stemmed from a case involving an Austrian politician who sued the social network to expunge online comments that called her a lousy traitor, corrupt oaf, and member of a fascist party. That's all the tamest of shit. This easily offended bitch. If she was Donald Trump, imagine that. What if Trump did this? I'm going to shut down anyone who says anything bad about me. They've said way worse things about Trump than against this no-name bitch. The decision sets a new benchmark for the purview of European laws that govern the internet, giving European countries the power to apply takedown requests internationally. And this is the scary thing. If the company that's receiving the takedown request does business in Europe, they're going to have to abide by it, or they're going to face other penalties if they want to continue doing business in Europe. So their only options right now are either stop doing business in Europe until they get their heads out their asses, or just let Europe dictate the internet. And I will get on this fucking horse again, Because for how many years now have I been saying that while the West uses China as a boogeyman, like, oh, look at what China's censoring the internet. Look at how evil they are. China is going to split the internet in two. And while everyone's looking at China, look at the fucking shit the EU has been doing. The EU is a much bigger threat to the internet than China ever has been and ever will be. We need to be fighting the fucking EU when it comes to internet freedom, not China. Don't let these fucking politicians distract you. China is not the enemy. The EU is. And to a lesser extent, the US in a lot of ways. They are the real enemies of the internet and internet freedom. The Five Eyes. That's who we need to be worried about. China, to this day, has never done anything that affected me. At least not that I'm aware of. On the internet, anyway. But the EU, on the other hand, just keeps fucking the whole thing up. If the internet gets split in two, it's not going to be because of China, it's going to be because of the EU. Because that's the third solution right here. That may be the only option, is to just split the EU off onto their own separate internet so they quit fucking it up for the rest of us. That's actually the solution I'd support at this point, honestly. That foreshadows future disputes over Europe's role in setting rules on the internet, especially as other nations increasingly pass their own laws to deal with privacy, hate speech, and disinformation. No, actually, there could be one good thing that comes of this, though. This hopefully will be what finally breaks up big tech, because it's just going to become impossible to operate globally anymore. So they're going to have to break up into smaller companies that operate in smaller regions again. And I'm actually looking forward to that. The judgment deals a blow to big internet platforms like Facebook, placing more responsibility on them to patrol their sites for wrongthink as they contend with the swell of often competing laws and regulations. Yeah, what happens if you're dealing with two countries that have blatantly opposed laws? Which ones do you follow? The correct answer is whichever one's punishments you can't deal with, really. There is an impulse in Europe that is trying to set global regulatory standards, said Ben Wagner, director of the Privacy and Sustainable Computing Lab at Vienna University. The effort, he said, is a pushback against the self-regulatory impulses of these platforms. How about we just disband all of them? This is another prime example of why I keep pushing that we need an Internet 2.0 that's completely impossible to censor or regulate in any way. Once it's on, it's going to be on forever, and there's nothing anyone can do to take it down. That's what we're going to need. Or take it down or block your access to it. Facebook said in a statement that the European Court's decision undermines the long-standing principle that one country does not have the right to impose its laws on speech in another country. Well, again, I love how that caveat there. One country does not have the right to impose its laws on speech on another country. They had to specify that because, like I just said, even with the U.S., countries are enforcing their laws on other countries all the fucking time. It's just speech was one of the few that's been off limits until now. So how about you fight against all this other instances of bullshit? Yeah, like, again, using the drug example. If I went to a place where doing drugs is legal and did them there, and then came back to my home country and they punish me for that, my home country is in the wrong. It also added that the judgment raised questions about the freedom of expression and the role that the internet companies should play in monitoring, interpreting, and removing speech that might be illegal in any particular country. It's your fault, big tech. In this case, you know what? I have to do this. Big tech, this is your fucking fault you find yourself in this position. If you yourselves didn't keep grabbing more power, you are the fucking idiots who keep censoring more and more. If you made your platforms uncensorable from the start, if you were actually platforms instead of publishers, you wouldn't be having this problem right now, you fucking idiots. You deserve everything you're getting right now. The only problem I have with this is you're taking me down with you. So fuck you for that. Later on Thursday, during an all-hands meeting with employees, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook's chief executive, predicted challenges for his company and for the industry, as well as lengthy litigation. I think it's a very troubling precedent to set, he said. And it's your fucking fault. If it wasn't for you and your fucking censorship, this wouldn't even be possible, you fucking cuck. Dude, I hope you get the full brunt of this. I really do. And again, the only reason I'm so mad is because these fucking cucks are ruining it for the rest of us. The dark web needs to become the new internet. That's the only way we're going to fix this right now. Europe has long been more proactive than other regions, including the United States, in passing laws that censor the internet. And China! Don't forget, the EU is even worse than China when it comes to destroying the internet. In short, Europe is trying to split the internet in two as they point to China. Like, look at all the shit China's doing. Just don't pay attention to what we're doing behind your backs, though, while you're looking at what China's doing. So while they fearmonger about how China is going to censor and split the internet in two, they're going to censor and split the internet in two. They just don't want the competition. That's all it is. Honestly, this is how I would respond. I would keep doing business in Europe, but I would just reroute a few websites, if you know what I mean. So if you try to access any of my sites, like say even Facebook, if you try to access Facebook from within Europe, it would instead lead you to a page describing what a VPN is and how to use it. And then telling you, like, no, since the European government are being a bunch of fucking idiots, you're not allowed to use our website from Europe anymore. So here's how you set up a VPN to visit our website from outside of Europe, and you can keep using it unobstructed. Yeah, that's another solution right there. Keep doing business in Europe, but anytime someone tries to visit your site from Europe, just explain to them what a VPN is and why they need one to keep using your site.